be covered. However, your guests will be charged $25. We're going to have a steak dinner. It'll be here. It'll be catered by Fat Boys. So it'll be a steak, baked potato, salad, and then from what I understand, the ladies are going to handle the desserts. So it will be here. So please sign up on the list as it works its way around tonight, and I'll make sure I get that back, and I'll email everyone the reminder sometime before the weekend, because that day is rapidly approaching.
In the big room.
Yes, sir. In the big room, in the auditorium in there is where we will be. So don't forget, the Christmas tree lighting is on November 30th, and the Christmas parade is on December 1st. I believe the parade starts at 7 p.m. It's a different route this year, so it'll actually start in the same spot, but it'll go around the loop and end up in the same spot. So parade starts at 7. We will have a float in the parade, so please be aware for that and look out for emails on that. All right. Well, George, you got anything else? Did I miss anything?
Bell ring.
Thank you. Bell ringing. There are still several dates left for bell ringing this year. So please keep that in mind. If you have some dates that you are available, please get with Lion Carl. And he's got the dates and the times that are available, okay? So just please get with him.
Josh.
Sir.
I sent out, everybody check your email. I sent out an email this morning listing the vacancies, the vacant shifts. And please, you can respond to me by return email, and just let me know if you can take one of those slots. There's one shift on there that nobody has signed up for. It's vacant. So, we need, there's several others that have only just one line on there. And, we can do it with one line, but it's a whole lot better if we have 2 or 3. So please, step up. It's only 2-hour shift. Unless you volunteer for that last shift, and it's 3 hours.
And if you didn't sign up, come on anyway when
That's
you
right,
get a
yeah.
chance.
Right. Just drop by.
Come on anyway.
Where you best.
Where you best, that's it. All right, well, tonight we have Miss Tammy Jones. She is the Chief Probation Officer for the county. So would you like to come on up and give your speech, tell us what you can do? All right, get out of your way. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank y'all for inviting me. Judge Sanders will be here, I think, shortly.
Yeah,
She said.
she's on the way.
Like Mr. Josh said, I'm Tammy Jones. I'm the Chief Juvenile Probation Officer here in Autauga County. And there are 3 juvenile probation officers in our county. And we work at the pleasure of the district judge, which is Judge Jessica Sanders. Between all 3 of us, we have about 56 years of experience. And so, to start off with, I kind of wanted to give you a little history of the creation of the juvenile court system in America.
Miss Tammy, can you speak a little louder?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Okay, we've got some in the back.
Yes, Ms. Tracy, thank you.
And they're all hard to hear.
I'm trying to talk loud. I really can talk loud. How many of you know have ever heard of the unsinkable Molly Brown?
Oh, yeah.
You'll be surprised to know she had a big role in forming the juvenile court system in the United States. After her husband, she lived in Denver, Colorado, and her husband, they discovered gold and owned the gold mines. Well, she moved up in society and she started running, as we say, with big dogs. She made friends with a judge. His name was Ben Lindsay. And he was a big reformer in the state of Colorado. So Molly decided she wanted to be a social reformer, so she pioneered with Ben Lindsay, the Denver judge, and they created the National Juvenile Justice Court System. So that's a little interesting tidbit. In Autauga County, like I said, Judge Sanders is the judge, and we hear delinquent cases and dependent cases here in Autauga County. To give you a little difference between the juvenile court system and the adult court system, if you're 18 years and older and you're charged with an offense, it's called a criminal act. Under 18, we call them delinquent acts. If you're taken into custody as a juvenile under 18, we have detention facilities. Juveniles cannot be housed in the same population as the adult offenders. So we have detention facilities, but the 18 years and older go to the jail. If they go to court and they're found guilty of a delinquent act, the judge will adjudicate on a delinquent act. If you're 18 and older, the judge, you're convicted on a criminal act. If it's determined that you need to be incarcerated for the offense under 17 years of age, you are taken to the Department of Youth Services. If you're 18 and older, you go to the Department of Corrections. We also have status offense cases in the juvenile court. We don't just handle the delinquent cases, we handle status offender cases. That's your truancy and your child in need of supervision. This is children that are ungovernable in the home. They're not delinquent, but they're considered a CHINS child, so we handle those cases. Now, in Autauga County, our truancy cases are right up there. Just the numbers are off the chain. And then over the past, I guess, 2 or 3 years, we handle it like there's adult contributing. Like if the child is under 12 years old, there's a warrant issued for the parent. But if they're 13 and older, we hold the child accountable, and we hold what we call an intake hearing. Juvenile probation officers can disposition some cases. Now, we don't try to handle the cases where there's restitution involved, but we can handle cases on an informal basis. So we try to handle a lot of the truant children because they no longer can go to the Department of Youth Services. January or I think it was October of 2009, Governor Bob Riley and at the time our Chief Justice Sue Bell Cobb decided parents needed to be held more accountable, so they went to the legislature and they had a law passed that said no longer could a truant child go to the Department of Youth Services or a status offender. So since 2009, needless to say, truancy numbers have risen. These children know that nothing's really going to happen to them if they don't go to school. So they learned that probably, they can tell us that before we can start reading their rights to them. They know, well, there's nothing you can do to me. So it's kind of it's just a challenge here in Autauga County to try to deal with the truant cases here in Autauga County. But the parents can be held accountable for the children 12 and under, and the arrest have for the adult contributing cases for the children not going to school has risen significantly also. I'm trying to think, we have, like when I talk about the Department of Youth Services, we have several facilities across the state. You probably have heard of Mount Meigs in Montgomery. Some of the children go there. And then we have the boot camp here in Autauga County. And I was telling someone earlier, the boot camp here that's in the old Bradford building isn't like the military boot camp that we used to think that, children would go, and actually it was like they had to climb the wall. They no longer have to climb the wall at the boot camp anymore. They still are, they go there for 28 to 45 days, but they don't have to, do the rigors of the military boot camp as it used to be. I was trying to think, also when I told y'all that when a child goes to court and the judge, once she has adjudicated them a delinquent child, we don't call it's called a disposition when the judge finds they're guilty, and we adjudicate, or the judge adjudicates on a delinquent charge, and then she dispositions the cases. We don't call it sentencing in juvenile court. Trying to think, we handle, children up till their 18th birthday, the charges are brought to law enforcement. We take referrals from law enforcement, the Sheriff's Department and the Prattville Police Department. And we do have a contract with the Montgomery County Youth Detention Facility. It's on Air Base Boulevard. And that's where we send, have to screen our children because we only have 4 contract beds. So we have to, when law enforcement calls us, we have to, the beds stay full, so we have to screen them for the more serious offenders. And they don't encourage us to detain. Like a lot of times you have the domestic violence situation. In adults, you know, usually someone's going to be leaving the home, but they try to encourage, and if it's a juvenile offender in a domestic violence situation, they try to see if you can't find alternatives like a relative or a friend that could remove the child from the home and let them have a cooling off period. But trying to think, do y'all have any questions for me? Because I may be moving faster than trying to cut to the chase, but if y'all have any questions, I can try to answer them if y'all.
I just hate that I wasn't here to give the introduction that Tammy trained me to be everything that I know, because you've been there how long, Tammy?
20, almost 24 years.
24 years. She's our chief juvenile probation officer now, and I wish y'all could see her in action because, number one, Tammy cares. Number two, every one of them love Tammy. Like when I'm out in town with Tammy and people come up to her and start hugging her, I don't know if it was one of her juvenile kids or if it's like just a family friend. I don't know which one.
Everybody knows.
Oh, that was kind, Judge Sanders, thank you. But, yeah, I love to go out with Judge Sanders and help her. We'll be at campaigning out on the trail and get to meet everybody and see everybody across the county, so. She and Russ, I think the world of them. When Judge was an assistant district attorney, of course I've known Judge a long time, but it's been my judge since January of this year. So we enjoy having her as our judge.
Was there a reason for them to stop the military boot camp? I know it was, but.
The only explanation that I had was that, you know, you have to be careful now because you're gonna offend someone if it's too hard on them, so they didn't.
That's what's wrong with this gun.
That's what.
Our Tammy, you can back me up if you think so, but our juvenile court system is designed to be a replica of what's wrong in our society. I mean, they do not want people to have consequences. It's just designed that way. And it's sad, you know, but again, Tammy and I every day are trying to fix problems that belong in the family. We're trying to fix problems that don't even belong at the courthouse.
Yes, the judge has to handle the dependency now. Thank the Lord, juvenile probation officers don't have to supervise the dependent children in Autauga County because the numbers for dependent children have grown in the county too. I think I was doing an estimate the other day. It's just numbers have increased just since 2022. And Judge Sanders has been our judge since, I think I've already seen where you've already had 70 or so dependent cases in the county. And that can be for child, when we say dependency, the juvenile court, which as a probation officer, I told y'all I don't have to supervise them, but that's for children that maybe their parents have abandoned them or there's abuse or neglect. Then third party, maybe a lot of times now we're seeing a lot of grandparents are raising their grandchildren, and a lot of that's because of substance abuse in the homes. Families are broken, and they'll just disappear and leave their child with them, sometimes even with a friend, and relative or something has to come file a dependent petition. And when we say dependency, it's not the same as like when we file our income taxes. It doesn't mean the same as a dependent child on your taxes. It's not the same as what's filed in our court to make a child dependent. And I was looking at some of the different charges. We go through different stages too across the years. Like some years we have multiple breaking and entering vehicles. Some of you may have been a victim of that. These children, and most of them come out of Montgomery. The juveniles will come out of Montgomery, and I guess it's because the interstate is close and they go through these neighborhoods and check unlocked doors. Lock your doors, because if you don't lock them, those children are just checking doors and they steal whatever they can, but they're trying to get in there, get out quick. We had incident I won't ever forget it. In 2017, there was actually gunfire exchanged with a juvenile shot into a home, and I believe it was in Silver Hills, and y'all might remember hearing about that. But that child ended up, he was out of Montgomery. We did end up doing the commitment to the Department of Youth Services to, hold that child accountable. But just so happened that the child was in a child's bedroom where the bullet went into, but the child wasn't in the bedroom, and thank the Lord for that. But number of cases too that have increased, and Judge can tell you this, and a lot of it's at our schools. Is children, of course, it's called certain persons forbidden to carry a pistol when, juveniles are not of the age to have a pistol permit. But these juveniles now, I think we had 6 cases last year, and now just since January of this year, we've already had 12. And one of them that was actually detained was at one of our schools here in Autauga County. I think it was at the high school. But that's a growing concern too.
So not all 12 were guns that were caught in school?
Not all of them were on the school property, but there was the one. But the number, most of the time when we get calls all through the night, like we don't, you don't have a time. We've had holidays, children don't take a break, just because it's a holiday. And they don't mind that they're gonna wake you up from your sleep. We get calls from law enforcement, and just about the ones we've had probably this year but most of them have involved a pistol. Whether they're gonna have a pistol on them, a firearm, and they steal those out of cars too.
And Tammy, you may have talked about this, but most people don't know, how does a juvenile get arrested? Or do juveniles actually get arrested? Most of the time, if a juvenile commits a crime, anybody under the age of 18, most of the time they are arrested and immediately released back to their parents. So it's just a matter of paperwork, you've been charged, we're releasing you back to your parents. But on the ones that they want to lock up, no juvenile in this county gets locked up without going through Tammy's office. So we have 3 juvenile probation officers, and they have to call you on call because you have to go to detention. We only have so many beds, and so it's not like you can just go drop them off with Captain Nixon, because he won't take them. He will refuse. And so that's why she's saying, if you think about it, every time a child might need to be arrested for doing something bad anywhere in the county, any law enforcement officer, whether it's a trooper, whether it's the county, whether it's the city officers, they are calling Miss Jones. Miss Jones, we've got one we need to lock up. And she has to keep the running count in her head. How many do we have locked up right now? And will we have to possibly release one if we lock another one up? Do we have to go on overload? It just doesn't work like regular jail. It's a lot of management that Tammy's office has to do in regards to that. And we have had to lock up a lot.
The beds stay full, like I shared with y'all, we just have 4. Now, in Montgomery, they will allow us sometimes to overload, they call it. They charge us, I think, $85 a day to overload. The county gets paid.
Tell them where our beds are. Like, where's the facility?
Air Base Boulevard in Montgomery. It's Montgomery County Youth Detention Facility, 1111 Air Base Boulevard.
What
know
about,
that by heart, so.
what about Natasha County, where is it, Natasha?
We don't have
We don't have
one.
one at
We have
all.
to contract with that facility in Montgomery.
Okay.
And I will give our law enforcement a big shout